Let's implement apply credit card for our supplier application. For that, we go to start.spring.io and there we shall create our project. We give a group name com.d2d, that is developer to developer, and an artifact name credit card, name of the project, the credit card application, and descriptions. The Spring Boot version we choose 2.4.10, and now we add some dependencies. One is web and Lombok. Remaining dependencies we shall add directly in the pom.xml and generate the project. So it will download a zip file, unzip and rename it credit card application and move it into our workspace. Now we open it from IntelliJ. You can use any ID of your choice. Select the pom.xml and open as a project. It will open the project. Let's maximize this one a bit. And now we add the dependencies in the pom.xml. First dependency that we are going to add is Spring Data JPA, and obviously along with this we shall use the MySQL because we are using the database to store our data and we are using MySQL. Then we use the Spring Cloud Starter Stream Rabbit. This is for Spring Cloud Stream, and since we are using RabbitMQ as a messaging broker, so it is a Stream Rabbit. We use the actuator, and we also use few dependencies for Swagger, so Spring Fox and Apache Commons Language Tree. For this, let's define the properties and also Spring Rabbit test, though we shall not write any test case here and we shall just focus on the code development, but down the line we shall definitely create a new video on test driven development also. We add the Swagger and Apache common version here. Since we are using Spring Cloud, so we need to add a dependencies management or Spring Framework Cloud, and it has Spring Cloud version, so we need to define the version here in the properties section. So let's define it. Okay, so this is the version, and I guess we are more or less done with all our dependencies. Now if you see, if you don't know how to get these dependencies, you can go to search for this the jar that you are looking for, and here you can go and you will find it, the complete dependency. And this way I picked up those dependencies, whatever I have added in this pom.xml. XML. And I am running the Docker desktop, and if you see the dashboard, they are RabbitMQ and MySQL are running. And also let's go and see, I'm using this Maven, I'm using the Maven wrapper, but you can install the Maven version and you can run your own Maven also, but it is advisable to use Maven wrapper. So that's it. What else? And plugin. Since we are using Lombok, so I have a Lombok plugin here. And this is the Lombok plugin that I'm using. Now build the application. I'm writing mvnw clean install, but if you don't want to use Maven wrapper, you can just write mvn clean install -d skip test. Application built successfully. So in case you are not using Maven wrapper, you can use this command mvn clean install -d skip test and run it. That's it. Now let's start the coding. Remove this thing. These are not required. Delete it and rename the application properties.application.yml. You can use application.properties also, but I prefer to use YML because we need to write less code. Now create our first package, controller, create our class, credit card controller. Obviously we need to add few annotation, REST controller, all argument constructed. This is a Lombok annotation, so we don't need to write constructor explicitly. This annotation will take care of it. Define our request mapping. Now we add few annotation for Swagger documentation. Let's define a tag and give a name, credit card application. And define API as tags credit card application. And add our service class, credit card service. This class is not there, so we need to create this class. And here we are creating this class within the service package. And give few annotations, mark it as a service. Declare a post method to save the application details. Response entity string, and we give the service name as, endpoint name as what? Credit. Create new credit card request. define that request body, the credit card request, and create this class into a package called DTO. Add few annotations and our post mapping. So first we define the post mapping path. Apply credit card and add few annotations for our Swagger. That is descriptions what this API is doing. Create a credit card application for new customer, and what kind of API responses we are getting. This is API responses and it will be API response. So we get 500 internal server error. Okay, why it is showing this error? Oops. Okay. Should be API responses code. So if it is success, we are returning 200. Otherwise, we are returning 500 internal server error. And here currently we add null to fix this compilation error. Now we create our DTO, added the properties in this DTO. We consider the add few annotations, say getter, setter, all argument constructor, and let's add builder. If you use builder, you don't need the all argument constructor, sorry. And definitely we are adding some annotations for Swagger purpose. So API model, and we add few properties here like first name, last name, annual income, and address. I think this is fine. Now add few annotations for Swagger. Copy paste those things, and this last name. This is annual income. This is customer address. That should be fine. Let's go to controller and we start writing code for that to complete this controller. Now first let's check whether credit card request has all the properties or not. If it is not there, then we shall throw a bad request error. So let's check it. Address is mandatory. First name, address, last name, all are mandatory. So let's check those things here. I don't think we need to add income here. This should be fine. Let's return a new response entity dot bed request dot body build. So in case any of these three field is property is empty, we shall return a bed request, and if it is not, then we shall proceed. Let's make a call to our credit card service and called save applications. That's part of the credit card request. We need to implement this method. So let's create this method now. And here we shall return a string now. We can keep it optional. For the time being, we add optional.empty to avoid the compilation error, and we shall come back into this class later after implementing our controller. Let's just return it now. And going to controller, we shall declare a variable application reference ID or reference number. Should be reference ID. Yes, and if application reference ID dot is empty, then we shall return response entity dot say status HTTP internal server error. Maybe they say some error happened, internal server error dot build. And if it is not empty, then we shall return the application reference number. So response entity, and we shall return HTTP status OK. Or better created, because we are creating this instance, and then let's build it. Not build, we should make return a body here. Should reference ID dot get. It should be body. Correct. So with this we have implemented our controller. It looks fine. Create a configuration file, and there we just write a class for Swagger called Swagger config. We shall not focus much on Swagger here, but we shall create a new video how to write this Swagger documentation and all, and we shall deep dive into Swagger. For the time being, let's use this small code where here we need to define our base package where my controller class is and what is the request path that we are looking for. Let's copy this one. You don't need up to here, so this should be fine. Let's remove this one. Yes, so that's it. I think we are done with Swagger. No need to do much on that. This is the simplest form how we can implement Swagger. Now let's go to the terminal and run our application or build our application again. And in application.yml, let's add few properties. Say server.port. Let's add 8004. Spring.application name. We'll give it apply credit card service. Let's define our data source here. What is this name we are using? CC application. So let's keep this schema name. CC application is fine. Define our username. It is root. Password root. Define few JPA properties, generate DTL, show SQL, let's set it false. I think this is fine now. Let's build our application. We shall get back to the application.yml and add the Spring Cloud Stream property later. Let's run our application. And okay, there is some warning. I need to set the JDK 1.8. Set it JDK 11, apply OK, and start this application once again. So our application is started at 8004, and since we have the Spring Cloud Stream jar, so it is already bind with the RabbitMQ, which is running in my local machine. This is because of this Spring Cloud Stream Rabbit jar. Let's see our localhost 8004 /swagger-ui/index.html. And our Swagger specification is generated successfully. It looks fine. So let's stop and start the coding for our services and adding our service class. Let's create a new package called entity. And create a new entity called application or credit card application, and add few annotations for the entities. Say no argument, getter, setter, entity, and we give a table name. Now it should store the whatever properties credit card requested has, also a reference ID. So let's add those properties first, and we need to create an ID. and generate value strategy, and we give generation type identity. This should be fine. Now we define the other properties along with the column name. So this is first name, last name, annual income is published, and reference. So is published and reference ID, we knew two properties we have added. This will check whether it is published or not, and what is the reference number. This reference number will help us to track this application, track this credit card application across multiple services. Now let's come here and add the dependency of repo. Credit card repository, credit card repository. We create this repo. Within this repo folder, it should be interface, extend JPA repository. In case you are not familiar with Spring Data JPA, we shall create a new video series on complete Spring Data JPAs and other Spring Cloud features. But now this is fine. Whatever we are doing is simple repository. And define the entity class, which is credit card. We just remove this credit card and the long. That's it. That's it. We don't need to do anything in this JPA. Now we declare the entity credit card, and whatever we are getting from the controller, that is from a DTO, we shall copy this thing into our entity. That way we shall be able to separate our front end with our back end database and database representations. Basically, we should separate our DTO and entity. So these four properties are common here. So these four properties will automatically be copied by butil, and remaining property we need to set explicitly. So let's say that credit card dot set reference ID. We need to create a random, so we can take a random string dot make and a 10-digit string. So that is a string of length 10, and we shall save it. There is type of credit card saved. Now we shall return optional off. Credit card saved dot get reference ID that we need to return. We should better add it in a try and catch block, so that in case any exceptions from a database or anywhere, we should have control on that. And exceptions, all argument constructor, and SLF4J. Let's give a log statement, log.error. Currently, let's just log this error message directly, and do a return option.empty. This should be fine. So once we run this application, the table will be created automatically because we set the generate DTL as true. So let's clear and run and build our application. We should be able to save data now. So let's run our application. Application started perfectly. Let's go to Swagger. And try to post a new credit card request. So the address Bengaluru, say any amount, we put 5,000. First name, let's keep it John. Last name, say and then execute it. Let's say it is created and we are getting a reference ID. And let's go to our database and refresh it. Our tables are created. Let's take this table, write the select query for that. Schema name. What is this company? CC application. Oops. Yes, it is created and it is created with a reference ID and is published is false. Stop our application. Now we start writing our code to publish our event, and also for that let's create a new package called event. Within this, let's create our events first, event and payload. Should be a Java class and we make it new credit card event. Let's add few annotations, getter, setter and builder, and let's define private and new credit card event. Event and a list which will contain the payload that we need to send to the downstream application, in our case credit card verification service. So let's make this, give this name application details, and it is credit card applications. Yeah, now we need to create those classes, and now let's create it. Let's create this payload class. It should contain the same properties that yes, let's go here and let's make it singular credit card detail, and here it should, Apart from that, it will contain the additional properties, publish status and reference ID. So let's copy it from our entity and remove this column, because this is the information that our apply credit card application service will pass to the downstream application, this verify credit card service. So let's format it a bit, fill the gaps. We add few annotations, again getter, setter, all argument constructor and builder. Since builder we are using all argument constructor is not needed, so that looks fine. We have created our events. Now let's create a service that will actually prepare the data and event that needs to be published. So let's give @service, again all argument constructor and SFL4J. Yeah, we should add the dependency injection credit card repository. Let's copy it from other service, credit card repository, and we should write our method. This particular service will check into the database whether we have any credit card application with status is published false. It will pick up this record. Then from this record it will generate the event and also change is published status as true for those applications and update this application status as is published true in the database. So let's do it, publish event, and let's return null for the time being to avoid any compilation error. And now we create a package called say gateway, and here we shall write the supplier which will publish the new credit card event. Let's give it a name message gateway, and let's create the Java class and let's give the name as credit card event publisher. Give those annotations SFL4J, all argument constructor, and configuration. Let's refactor it and make the P capital. Okay. Now we define our method. First we add the dependency injections and we give it event publisher service, and here we write our supplier. Main public supplier, and what it will generate, it will publish a new credit card event. So that's it, and let's give the method name. Publish new credit card event. So here what it will do, it will get all the data from a database where is published is false. And then it should convert the entity into application details. So let's go here and let's complete the coding. Return event publisher service dot publish event. Let's call this event and store the return type. In our case, it is a new credit card event, optional. Now we write some return if this is empty. Is empty, then we shall return none. That means we will not publish any message, otherwise we shall go and we shall create new credit card event.get and we shall publish this one into the message queue. So that's it from our publisher. Now we need to go to our publisher service and write our publisher service. Let's change this method name to is published. This property name is published, all capital. Now let's complete the event publisher. First we go to the repository and find all the record by is where is published is false. So what is this field name? Publish status. So let's go to our class and find by publish status. Fonts. Oops. Let's create this method. See, it should be find by followed by the property name with first letter capital. Now what we shall get? We shall get a credit card. This is our entity. Return type is void. So where is our repository? And we need to change it to credit card. That's it. Now let's go here. It should be a list of credit card instead of credit card. Yes, it should be a list of credit card, and let's go here. List of credit card is fine. Now we need to loop through this credit card list, and let's make a credit card scroll also. We need to loop to this credit card list, and for each credit card we need to create the corresponding event value, that is application details. So let's do it. We shall use stream stream.map credit card and we define a new application details. Details are built at the build. Now we do copy neutral copy properties. Copy the from credit card to application details. So it will copy all the properties from credit card to the application details where the property name and type is the same. And here we see in the application details we don't need the publish status. So this application credit card dot set publish status, now we set is true. And we return the application details. Now we collect it in a list. Define a application details. Yes, so let's make it singular. I think this should be fine. Now let's write some log.info and say checked for new credit card requests available record to publish is this will be application details dot size, or you can say credit cards dot size, anything. Make it credit cards dot size. This should be fine. So then we create a new credit card event. Now builder dot credit card applications, and we set the list. Dot build. And so we created a new credit card event, and we also need to update the credit cards, that is our entity, into the database. So let's do it. Credit card repository dot save all credit cards. So now this credit card publish status will be, publish flag will be set as true. I declare it as a new credit card event. Let's start the new credit card event here. Let's make some check. Let's see, only if the list has size greater than 0, then only you should publish, otherwise you should not publish anything. Let's check this one is greater than 0. Then we shall do all the activities. Let's write some log here. We should add log in the critical part of our code where some specific things are happening based on the business needs. So we are updating the credit card status to be published, and we are saving all. It looks good. this new credit card event. Go to optional.empty and yeah, if size is greater than 0, then it shall set, otherwise it shall return an empty. So here we need to define it optional explicitly. Then publish equal to optional of it should be optional of new credit card event. That's it. It looks fine. Else return. Okay, we need to make explicitly as optional. I believe, yeah, this is showing optional, so this one we need to change it to optional. And that's it. I think we have completed the event publisher. So what it will do, it will get from the database all the credit card applications for which status is false. From there it should generate the, let's do one thing here. Here whenever we are saving this is published as false. Let's do one thing. Let's set explicitly is published status equal to false here. It should be what is this error? It is published status, so it should be set published status. Set published status is false. Yes, we should set it explicitly here, though by default it will go as false, but let's set it explicitly here. Now yeah, it looks fine. Now publisher event listener also looks fine. This service is taking all the credit card application that is published is false. From there it is creating the payload, then store the payload into the event and publish the event side by side. For the credit card is change the status to published is true. And only if size is greater than 0, then only we are publishing it. Otherwise we are not publishing, or we are not making any update into the database. So that's it. It looks fine. Few properties for Spring Cloud Stream. So let's add those properties. It should be cloud function stream test definition. Definition should be the message name of our publisher. Sorry, method name of our publisher. So let's copy the method name and here we put the method name. Now we need to give bindings. Sorry, we made some mistake here. Let's correct it. It should be cloud stream followed by function destination. Within function there will be destination, and just remove the stream here. Binding is at the function level, and we are, since this particular it is a supplier and it should publish a method, so it should be out and 0. By out and 0 means we are telling that this particular method will publish the message into a message queue, and 0 means it is the first queue. So we are giving the destination, and let's give the queue name. What name can we give? Let's say credit card application will be our queue name, and let's define a group, credit card. I believe that's it. We don't need to make any other thing here. Now let's go to our database and we drop this table which you have created. We shall start everything freshly. This is our RabbitMQ. So let's delete all the exchanges and all and make it clean. Now once we start, so it is completely clean. Once we start our application, a new exchange credit card application will be created, but no queues will be created now. So this is what credit card application will be created, but no queues will be created because we don't have any consumer yet. Our apply credit card application is just publishing it. It's a producer, but since there is no consumer, no queue will be created at this point. But once we write our credit card verification service, that point of time this queue will be created. So that's fine. Let's go and build our application. Yes, let's clear it and run our application. So our application started and it started checking into this database whether thing is there or not. And if you can see, a new credit card exchange is created. So let's try to publish our record here. Let's quickly try it out. Let's give New Delhi some amount and John, and let's give it a surname Sarai, and let's execute it. So it is executed. You get one more time. So published record is 1. You can see. Published record is 1. So record has been published. And let's check the database. Database is working fine. 2 records are created with the unique reference ID. So it looks fine. And here credit card application exchange is created. There is no queue and it is expected because we don't have any consumer yet. And yeah, it looks fine. So let's publish record one more few times, and record are publishing. So here if we publish few records successfully, let's see these records are published properly. As of now, we don't use any database constraint, and also one record may be created multiple times into the database. So let's see, we have created all the records into the database and these things are already published. So each published status is true. So looks like our database is working. So our supplier application is working fine. There is no issue. We are able to publish it. So that's from our supplier or apply credit card application. Please like, share and subscribe, and we shall join with our new video where we shall write our credit card verification service. Thank you. Let's meet in the next session.